Wizard Predicts, and we've become friends. So thank you so much for joining us. And allow me to make this introduction. And how convenient, right? Darren, Wizard Predicts, Darren.
Pleasure.
Awesome. So Wizard Predicts asks, where do we go from here? Chart a long-term course for returning power to the common man.
Well, I mean, that's a longer discussion, but I think we should not focus inordinately on electoral politics. I think that we can, getting back to kind of reverse engineering what the infrastructure that Soros created, we can start small, but I think there are a lot of things we can do that are not related to electoral politics that could, in fact, redound to greater power for the common man, for people on the right. I think one thing we need to understand that you learn kind of from the Trump experience is that there is really, populism is a myth in the sense that populism must be combined by genuine buy-in by at least a faction of the ruling class. Otherwise, it is ineffectual. I think you need, and so what we need to do is have a kind of rhetoric, have an approach that's appealing to a prospective emerging elite that's actually a good elite and not corrupt, dysfunctional, ugly, and unworthy and illegitimate like our present elite. And I think this is a longer term issue. 15 years is generous in terms of the time horizon. I think it's crucial to have people who are educated politically online rather than on cable and in talk radio. And those people were, probably in their 20s, 30s, maybe. They need to have time, God willing, to make their own fortunes, strike out their own fortunes, and then actually start to fund things in a sophisticated way that could actually work. But I think the mindset needs to be play for keeps. I think we need to understand leverage and actually how to visit real pain, not, physical pain, but pain in the metaphorical sense on institutions and political enemies. And that this is not necessarily achieved through electoral politics. This can be achieved through institutions. This could be achieved through, for instance, a mechanism that is able to impose costs on journalists who smear people or engage in
those institutions. I'm interrupting, right? But we're friends, and now all three of us are friends because Wizard and I are friends as well. So, but can those institutions be punctured? One of the interesting things that I saw about Ali, right, was Stop the Steal, because I'm a supporter of it. I think dissent is important and it needs a vehicle, right? Is that as soon as he punctured kind of the conformity of the conservatives, right? As soon as he said, hey, what's Loeffler ever done for us, right? As soon as he punctured that conformity of the conservatives, they cast him out, and it was kind of self-sealing, right? He punctured it, and then it was like,
there's a lot of vulnerability on the institutional right. There's a lot that can be captured with the right.
Does that give room for building something new that really can have force and can acquire momentum and real brute force?
Yeah, I think over the next 15 years, really, it will be a matter of building networks, building money, and developing skills for when there's actually a real opening, and that I think will occur probably in 15 years. And so I think principally the focus needs to be on networks, resources, and in 15 years or so, there might be a real kind of opening and honing skills. And so that's the other thing is people, the superficial function of an endeavor doesn't need to be its actual purpose. Something can look like one thing, but actually be a pretense in which to develop skills that would be useful in a different context. And I think so that maybe just intuitively useful to understand like how one could go about developing useful skill sets under some kind of appropriate cover if one didn't want to kind of invite the eye of Sauron or coordinated attacks that are visited upon, overt critics of the American regime or political correctness and so
So when
forth.
you say 15 years, that means that you're referring to, I think, right? People who are right now maybe 20 years old because they have to acquire economic wealth. They've got to acquire economic capital, social capital, right? Political capital. And that's going to be the generation growing up today. Will they be those people?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, one can never tell, but I do think there's something to having that. Like, there's just so much dumb money in politics, and I do think so much of the right is beholden to the political blind spots and the tastes of baby boomers. And it's nothing against baby boomers, but I do think ultimately it imposes certain type of bottleneck to the type of thinking that we need in the longer term. And I think there's some kind of incubation that can occur presently, but it's really a type of preparation. And I do think that one thing not to get too distracted by is electoral politics or this thing of this constant disappointment as, oh, this time we'll primary the
I
people.
rang the bell and you hit me in the nose. I rang the bell, you hit me in the nose. You know I rang the bell. You heard the bell. Okay, so listen to this. Now I forgot. You punched me and now I've got a little bit of a concussion. So let me ask you a question. The 20-year-olds today, the propaganda they've received over the last 20 years is that America is a failed country and we've broken apart. And part of the mythology that they've built into Bitcoin is that it's the end of the American empire and it's every person for themselves. So I want my own proprietary currency. And honestly, it's $40,000 now. So it's worked.